Hello, my name is Robert Moore. I'm with the Nevada County Historical Society, and this morning we're going to sit down and have a conversation with a gentleman by the name of Ed Yun. Ed Yun has been around these parts, Grass Valley, Nevada County, since he was a young man. I believe he came here when he was 13 years old. Ed is going to share some of his stories and give them as a gift to the people of Nevada County. Ed, welcome, and I would like you to tell me some of your first recollections when your family came to Grass Valley. How big was your family? Where did you live? How did you get here? And maybe you could describe a little bit your first recollections of Grass Valley.
I came to Grass Valley from San Francisco when I was 14 years old. And when I came to Grass Valley, naturally I had to go to school. So my next grade was 8th grade. 8th grade was in Columbus School, where Hennessy School is now. It was a nice big 3-story building. And so we had the 3rd floor for 8th grade. I finished 8th grade there, and then went on to high school in Grass Valley High on Auburn Street. And I never was too much for studying, so I never took book home to study, but I did fool around in class. I did things I was pretty good at my math, so I did all right in math, but in my history and civic class, the teacher there told me if I didn't behave myself, I would be back next year. I told her, fine. When I come back next year, I'll be twice as bad. So she graduated me. And when 8th grade, I had a fellow sit in front of me. He's not too good on math, and I had no trouble with math, so he would turn his back, and I would know he wanted the answer, so I would give him the answer. And he asked me one day, how do you know all the answers so quick? And I had to give him a quick answer, and I didn't know what to say, so I said, well, since my initials were EY, I said, that's the EY process. So he called me EY process when we were out in the field playing ball. And so other kids that didn't know my name, I heard him call me EY, so all of a sudden my name was EY. Everybody out in the field called me EY.
Do I call you Mr. Yun or do I call you EY?
Just EY, everybody said EY. In fact, a lot of them didn't even know my name was Ed. A couple of them thought my name was Eli. So anyway, my name was EY from there on. Even the family kids call me EY. A lot easier to say than Ed.
When you came to Grass Valley, you were the oldest child of the Yun family. And there were several other siblings that you had.
Yes, I'm the oldest of 7, 5 boys and 2 girls. I came to Grass Valley because I was the oldest. My father opened a grocery store here, and so I worked in the grocery store. And there was just groceries and vegetables on O'Neill Street. And then one day some fellow said there's a little market out Hills Flat that's up for sale, a little meat market. So he looked at it and he liked the looks of it, so he bought it. And he knew from people Chinese people in the Ileton and Cortland area. And there's one fellow there, he was a butcher, so he came and worked for the butcher. At the butcher shop was a good butcher. And we had nice fresh meat, and that brought in a lot of people because there were not too many fresh meat in the Grass Valley at the time. There were 2 small meat markets, but we had a nice long counter, had pork and beef and veal and all kind of good meat. So we brought in a lot of people. And
Excuse me, the name of the market was the Hills Flat Public Market?
it was a Hills Flat market, and then when he rebuilt it, made it bigger, we called it a public market. And so Hills Flat Public Market.
And where did the where did the produce come from? Where did the produce come from, and where did the meat? You had fresh meat. You had pork and beef and chickens. Where did that come
Yes.
from?
In those days, they had these delicatessen trucks come in from Sacramento. Uh, I thought Made Right was one of them. Made Right, and then there's another one, two of them, and they would park in front, and they would have the pieces of boxes of weenies and lunch meat, the whole lunch meat, which we slice ourselves when we sell them. And the meat, I had meat from Sacramento also. Our truck salesman come in and what kind of meat, and then pretty soon we had our own slaughterhouse where the Hughes Road is now, and they killed the beef there, and bought them by quarters, and our butcher was known enough to do it, so we bought them by the quarters, and he would cut them up in roast and steaks and whatever, and I would help him sometimes, so I was just all around the place, so I helped with the meat sometimes, learn how to do the meat and the produce, and so I had a lot of fun doing it.
So you were your daddy's right-hand man. You helped in the market, and then
Yes, I did. I helped quite a bit here and there, and we had a place to live. We lived in a hotel for a while. Oh, that's right, in Grass Valley on the Church Street. And then he found a house down by the bowling alley, and he bought the house, and we had a house to live in. Then when he rebuilt the Hills Flat Market to a bigger market, had a lot of room in the back, so we had 4 garages for storage, and above the garage we built a three-bedroom house there. And so we lived in back of the house there, and so we were real handy. Didn't have to get up too early to go to work.
and your daddy was in the store pretty much sun up to sundown.
Just next door to us, we had the Hellback Brothers, a Ford garage opened up on there, and on the other side of the store was a empty building, and that's sold little gift shop and all that. So we had pretty good little area there.
Was that considered Chinatown?
No, Chinatown was uptown, between Bank Street and Colfax Avenue. There was a little side street in the middle of between let me see now, back of Auburn Street. That's the back of Auburn Street. Was a little street there, was not paved, had rocks and dirt and rocks, and so we had built wooden houses on 2 sides, and cars drove in the middle there, and so 3-4 families on each side of the street, and that was Chinatown. That's where all the Chinese live. And when my family moved in, Grass Valley, of course, my sister and I went to Chinese school in San Francisco after regular school. So my father thought all Chinese kids should learn Chinese. So they hired a Chinese man from San Francisco. He lived in Chinatown, and we had Chinese school there after regular school.
So you went to Columbus School, and then you went to Grass Valley High, and then after you got out of class there, where you were a bit of a mischievous child, you went to Chinese school for a while, for several hours during the day?
Chinese school was for 3 hours, usually 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
That's a long day for a young guy.
It is. That's why we hated Chinese school, because all had a regular school all day and then go back nighttime to learn Chinese. And of course, Chinese is hard to learn too, because each word is a separate word. It's not like a alphabet or anything. Each word is a separate word. Like water is a one word. man, say man, and it was one word. So you had a lot of words to learn.
Did you learn how to write in Chinese, the
Yes,
caricatures?
Yes, we did. We also uh, used a Chinese brush and India ink is put on a piece of silk on the little metal containers, and so we learned to write. How to hold a pen. There's a certain way you hold the brush and learn to write little by little.
That's fascinating. But that's tough for a young person that is sitting down all day in class.
That's right. So all day in school and in Chinese school again, and go home and have dinner. So we have late dinner.
When you had dinner with the family, would they gather around the table, and was your mother the chief cook? And what kind of dinner would you have?
Yes, for dinner my mother usually is the cook, and of course the wife is the Chinese food. So every night we had Chinese rice, cooked rice, and pork of some kind. And pork was easy to make, and pork and some vegetables, and we didn't like too much of all that Chinese food either. We had a neighbor, out Hills Flat there. We had a Hughes family, had quite a few kids. And this one little boy there, he used to come over. He liked to look at, so he hang around. And we invited him up for dinner one night. And he liked our dinner, so every night he would come over for dinner, have dinner with us. So
One more mouth to feed.
yeah.
You know, I would think it would be very difficult for a 14-year-old young man to move from town to town and to learn to get a whole new set of friends, and you were kind of an outsider coming in. Was that a difficult process for you?
Oh, no, not really. It seemed like there's always somebody that's in the same situation that just moved here and hadn't been here too long. So we get along pretty good everywhere. And well, let's see. Now I was thinking of Grass Valley High. I went to Sacramento Junior College, and
Well, let's go back to high school here. You went to Grass Valley High. That was before the existence of NU, and you were also active in the sports program.
yes, that's right. It's Grass Valley High School. So I guess I was used to running around, so I played football, and I didn't play football too much because I went back to the store to help with the store early after school. So I come back to I think I practiced about one night a week instead of 5 days a week. And so, but the coach Hooper, he was very good. He let me in a few plays when I come to the ball games. And the track meet, didn't have to practice too much because I was pretty fast at running. So I ran the 100 and the 220 and I broad jumps. In fact, in my sophomore years, I didn't realize it, but on a track meet in Auburn, let's see, there's 5 schools in our what do you call
Conference.
and anyway, there's 5 schools of Auburn, Roseville, Grant Union, Nevada State, and Grass Valley. And anyway, I didn't realize it, but I broke the 100-yard dash record that year, and then found out later on I also broke the broad jump record. So I had 2 track records for quite a few years.
EY, when you were a young man, you must have found some time to do some recreational activities.
Yes, there were a lot of fishing here because there were 3 reservoirs in the Alta Street, and there's also 3 more reservoirs out between here and Nevada City. And they all had trout in them, because in those days they put trout in the reservoirs to keep the water clean. And so I found out one day that somebody told me about fishing at the reservoir, so I tried it, And it gave me a habit there. After catching a couple of fish, oh my God, that's my sport. So I'd get up before dawn even to get in there early fishing. And I think the trout limit was something like 15 trout when I started, but then it got down to 5. 5 was limit, so I always caught the limit. Didn't take too long. They had put like I say, the trout on the reservoirs to keep the water clean, and then later on, somebody said there's no more fish in the reservoirs. They found that what happened. They found that the chemicals would keep the water clean, and so didn't need the trout there. So all the chemicals also killed off the trout. So this is why the water change and ID change. You had underwater pipes and had one big place where the water were kept clean. So fishing was done here. So we had to go farther on up, Lake Spalding and Donner Lake. Did a lot of fishing up there. In fact, a lot of time up Donner Lake, the water was so rough that we shouldn't even get on there. But we did. There's a lot of kokanees up Donner Lake. Real nice. The biggest one I ever caught was an 8.5 pounder. Some kind of a bass. And so anyway, we did a lot of fishing, and till I got married, and we had other things to do.
How would you get around town? How would you get from your house? You lived behind the public market, correct? And then how would you get up to the reservoirs to do your fishing?
Well, we had a pickup for the store. We didn't have the waste management at the time, so we had to get rid of our garbage ourselves. So we had a pickup that we had a load. We'd take it to the dump. And then we also had a fellow, Bill, he had chickens. That's why he raised chickens. And so he came to the store to pick up all our produce at the clean up thing and all that. And he also took our garbage with us by getting all that. So we had somebody pick up our garbage and all that. And let's see now.
In
House garbage I took out to the store, so I didn't have to have the garbage service until the store closed, and then we had the new garbage for like now.
How would you get supplies for the store? Would it come in by truck from Sacramento? And what about the produce? Was that all locally grown?
Yes, they had a produce truck. In fact, 2 produce trucks that brought produce from the wholesale house in Sacramento. But then we had our own truck. My father had our own truck because we had a grocery store. There's a Valley Wholesale that wholesale all the canned goods and candy and everything else. It was a lot less than buying it from the wholesaler that delivered. So we had our own truck. Went down to Sacramento twice a week, picked up our produce and our groceries.
Would you deliver groceries?
Yes, we had a delivery service, so we delivered also.
People would call in, or would they have a standing order? And would they? A lot of times, the old grocery stores had credit. They ran tabs.
Yes, we had a delivery service, and people would come in buy groceries, and then that had too much to carry, so we would leave it there. We had their address, so we would deliver it for them. And then just trying to think what something we did deliver groceries. And there used to be a lot of apple trees. That's why we had good apple orchards here in Grass Valley. That huge road there, all those houses used to be a big apple orchard. And also by Lake Olympia, there was apple orchards out there. And Lake Olympia was a recreation area. People had their boats and canoes and swimming pool there. And so anyway, we had
Did you ever dive off of that high dive out there at Lake Olympia?
No, I never did dive. I was in the army. I'm not much of a swimmer. In the army, there we went. They took us to this Broadmoor hotel. They let us swim in a nice swimming pool. So I thought one day, well, I'm going to dive in and see how it is. So I dove in feet first, and opened my eyes. I did no movement. Found myself standing underwater. I didn't realize you had to move to get back up.
Ed, can you tell us a few of the stories of the local characters near your house?
Well, we are our market, our Hills Flat. We live in the back of the store. Across the street from our market, on the other side, is called a place called the Spanish Inn, and that was run by a man named Jasper. He made the best hamburgers in town at the time. There was no Burger King and all these things like that in those days. But he made good hamburgers. He made good spaghetti. People brought in their pots and he'd make a spaghetti. It's real good spaghetti. And he would buy the meat and make the the hamburgers all ground up by himself. He had a grinder there. And usually a grinder, you put a piece of meat in the grinder, and you have a piece of wood stomper to stomp the meat in to grind up the meat. But Jasper, he liked to push it in with his hand. And you can tell because one hand he had only 2 fingers left, and the other hand he had a couple of tips of fingers are gone. So if you had a good pot of spaghetti, you might find a piece of finger in it. But he was quite a character. He went back to Spain and brought back he must be 50 years old. He brought back a bride. She was only about 20 years old. And so they worked there for a while. Then he sold out and went out of town somewhere. And the Spanish Inn was bought by some people that made a bar out of it. So people go in for a drink and have hamburger at the same time. And at that time, next door to our market, the Helberg brothers opened a Ford garage that took care of cars, mechanical lubrication and all that. And anyway, the two brothers, then of course Spanish Inn across the street was a bar. And it seemed like the 2 boys that owned the Ford garage liked their drinks. So you could see one going over to get a drink, and would come back, and the other one would go over, get a drink, and pretty soon the other one would go back. Anyway, the 2 Hellback boys are good customers for the Spanish Inn for their drinks.
Can you tell us about this fellow named Jasper across the street from the market?
Yes, Jasper, he's the one that made the hamburger and sold spaghetti. He bought the piece of property next door to our market, and put a little building in there. And he had 1 car that he put on for sale. I think he must have sold about 2, and then he sold the business. But anyway, by then the Hellback brothers had all the car business there.
I see. When we talked earlier, you had mentioned about the immigration into the Grass Valley area, and you said it was different groups would come in from different areas of the world.
Yes, the mines were opening up at the time. They were finding a little mine. My Maryland mine came open, which was not too far from our store. The Empire mines, and quite a few small mines there too. Okay, people here were not too knowledgeable about mining, and so some people came from England. We called them the Cousin Jacks because they were, had mining, tin mining in England, and so they brought in these miners from England, from London, to work in the mines. And that's why they call them cousin Jacks, because they were cousins to the American people here. And so they worked in the mines and they got the mines going. And then, of course, with all the cousin Jacks coming to Grass Valley, the population started to grow. And so we needed food here. There's not too many stores here for food stores. And so the little grocery stores started opening up. And so a lot of Chinese people from Chinatown saw the opportunity. So some of them opened, some opened grocery stores here and there. And of course, San Francisco, Oakland were booming at the time. So a lot of these Chinese people moved out of Chinatown and moved to San Francisco and different places.
We had migrants coming from England to work the mines. We had the Chinese that came in to kind of assist and work in the grocery stores and produce.
Stores, right.
And then there was two other
Yes,
groups that came in.
we needed all the population was growing, so we needed restaurants there. And the Italians are good restaurant people, so the restaurant people, so they had quite a few Italians come in and open restaurants here. So we had restaurant, Travelers Hotel, that's why they had hotel and restaurant they took care of. And so needed lumber to build the houses. At Grass Valley, we just between Ridge Road and different Colfax Highway, there's all nothing but trees. So we had a lot of timber to be cut. And so people were cutting the timber and making timber out of it to build houses. But they were having quite a time. It was expensive to cut the trees, make roads to pull the trees out from the forest. And so the people in Oklahoma and Arkansas, they did a lot of tree cutting over there, so they were pretty well knowledgeable in cutting trees. So somehow we got a lot of people from Oklahoma and Arkansas came to cut all the trees and open small lumber yards, and so we had, and that's how B&C got started. The Fowler family, the two Fowler boys, Mr. Fowler started the small lumber yard and cut trees into timber to build houses. And then the two boys took over, and that's how the B&C got started there.
You were a young man, you graduated from high school, and where did your career go from there?
After I got out of high school, I went to Sacramento Junior College, and of course the war was going on after I got there, and the kids were all enlisting in the Army. So I graduated from there, and I thought, well, instead of going to work, I'll probably be drafted anyway. So I enlisted in the Army, and it wasn't too long, we all got called into the Army. And from the Army, when I got to the Army, I was sent to Indianapolis, Indiana to finance school and basic training because I had all the business courses. And so after I got through with the Army finance school, I got sent on a ship with about 3,000 soldiers there heading for we don't know where. I thought maybe we might be heading for China, but then the ship was all by itself, so we didn't have any battleship to keep watching on enemy coming over. So anyway, we ended up in Bombay, India, and then from India we took the train. They took a train up to Karachi, and from there I actually was supposed to go to China, but I was put on temporary duty in the finance office in a place called Malaya in India, because there was a China Air Force training camp close by, and they would come in our finance office to exchange Indian money, Chinese money for Indian money, so they have money to spend. And so instead of sending me to China, I stayed in India at that office for my whole career. Well, what do you do when your time off? But anyway, play ball, play baseball, play football, and so one day when I was playing baseball, that's when I got my leg broken.
You got your leg broken.
Yeah, it was all running base. I just felt, well, I guess they thought he was a strong brute there. Instead of tapping base, he put his shoulder into me and rammed into me real hard. And I flew up in the air, and I heard a big crack, and well, I couldn't get up with my leg. So that ended my working days for a while.
So you were in the Army for 4 years,
Yes.
and from there you went to Cal.
Yes, that's right. Went to Cal. I had I had 5 semesters when I graduated from a junior college, so it only took me three semesters to finish Cal. Graduated from Cal business course.
But you always wanted to come home to Grass Valley.
Yeah, yeah. I always thought, well, at the market there, and a lot of things going on in Grass Valley. And that's when my wife Alice, she was at Berkeley going to school also, so I met her there and we got together, and so we stayed together for 65 years.
Congratulations. And 3 children later.
Yeah, 3 children and 6 grandchildren.
Ed Yun, or maybe I should say EY, I want to thank you very much for sharing your stories and your history and your memories of Grass Valley with your family and with the people of Nevada County and the Nevada County Historical Society. Thank you very much.
I think